Welcome to London Stadium, welcome to East London. We're at the home of West Ham United and I'm here to talk to the legendary Zohaib Rashid, the one and only Desi baller.
You are in my house right now.
Yes,
welcome to East London, welcome to Newham.
Thanks a lot, and in front of an iconic venue, the home of the London 2012 Olympics, and I'm here because you had, on the 16th of July, a very special event kicking off 15 years of your platform, DesiBallers.
Yes.
Proudly call you a long-time friend.
Indeed.
And how did it feel last night to have that event?
Surreal. I think it feels surreal because in my head I always have these grand ideas and dreams and delusions, and we often talk about it. And we had many conversations over the years of things we want to do, be able to do in iconic venues and bring people together. And that happened yesterday. So it's like, maybe it's good to be delusional and stay in the dream state because you never know what is possible. And it was so nice to have my friends and family there. Those people were there before DesiBallers happened, those who saw my rise and being influential in that. It was amazing to see people like yourself. When I first joined the industry, people like yourself, Mohammed Shanawaz, it was just like people who knew me before the platform started. And then the platform was created because of all our conversation, but also sometimes our concerns and frustrations that not enough was being done by others. And like I said yesterday on stage, we're either going to lament it and go, what could have been, or we should do this, or we go and do it. And yeah, yesterday was a great testimony. It was amazing to invite people to East London, to Newham, to Stratford.
That's the question of it, right?
Started.
How important was it for you? You're a lifelong West Ham United fan.
Yes.
To have West Ham co-hosting the event with you. You've got the fan groups, you've got South Asian Heritage Month as well. So a really big combination of what South Asian football, South Asian culture is about in this country.
I think it epitomizes all the things that I believe in. Obviously, West Ham is my team. That's the team I follow. We've had a lot of lows and a few highs. And it's great to have the Europa Conference trophy that we won 2 years ago at the event. So I'm able to combine my team, my passion for football, my passion for my community all together. And I think that was the biggest thing, that anything I do an event, I want there to be a signature of what I'm about and what DesiBallers is about. It is about having cross-generational. What's great about South Asian communities is we are multi-generational. Grandparents living with his grandkids and parents, and we have this constant bond. So that room was full of youngsters who are on the rise, coming up. We had people who are seasoned professionals, and then we had some of the OGs and people that you met way before I joined the industry, and to have them all in the same room and just see them milling around, it felt like a family function. I think that's the best way to describe it. It's a bit chaotic at times, but it was a pure family function. I think, and the intention of everyone was pure as well. And I think it warms the heart that that's something that I've been able to do. And I never claimed DesiBallers to be my thing, even though I started it. I claimed it to be us and ours, and I always try to involve as many people as possible. And I was able to do that yesterday.
Did you ever envisage when you started DesiBallers as a platform in 2010 that you would be here in 2025, 15 years later, that you're a key voice for South Asian football in not only the UK but now even around the world, of the topic of brown ballers working together, doing TST and other things, that you're going global?
There's part frustration and part elation. I'll start with frustration. Over the years we've seen plenty of talk about what needs to happen, what is going wrong, why isn't this happening, how do we increase numbers, and it's always followed by lack of action. And we often say, well, we had this conversation in 1996 where we had this conference in the UK, in Leicester, I think you were part of as well, where we're talking about, okay, South Asians do love football, how do we get them in? And you had clubs who are clamoring at doing events and things like that, and this was pre-social media. But where's the information from that time? Where's the results of any action that happened? 10 years later, a report comes out, 2005, Asians can't play football, a wasted decade, just to show nothing happened, no action. And then you go to 2025, and I would say, for me, I'm action oriented. I want things to happen. I'll make mistakes. I might fail at things, but I want to keep pushing us forward. And yes, so the two successes, and this is where the elation part comes in. I realised what power an individual has. That we don't have to rely on people. We can create our own rooms. We can create our own destiny. We can create our own like elevated statuses. Like collaborating with Sky Sports, one of the biggest sports platforms in the world, and creating a annual South Asian team of the season is unfathomable in most people's eyes. But we've done it for 3 years in a row now with Dev Tran. And on the other side, you mentioned TST, taking a all South Asian football team, players from the UK, USA and Canada, having an all South Asian coaching staff from those 3 countries, and then also the operations and the sponsors and the investors. That's always what we dreamed about. So I always believe it will happen one day. I didn't know that I was going to do those things. And it takes a little bravery to put yourself out there and not be afraid to fail. And if it does fail, then we just move on to the next thing and we try to learn from it. But the elation part is that the power and the influence has been created. And I'm happy that it's not just me, I'm taking others on the journey as well. And I'm trying to elevate us. That's why I say I'm elevating us. And that's why yesterday you met some of my friends from other industries. You met Ishanaya, she's an upcoming journalist reporter working at BBC. You met Aaron Paul, who is extraordinaire. Was reporting at
a legend already in his own right.
Exactly, World Club. He was at the World Club for DAZN. He has a flagship breakfast show on BBC London. He's on 5 Live. He's on ITV. He's there. But he was on stage with us. He's our community, and he's just leading the way. And he's a larger-than-life character, but he's one of my closest friends. He's like a little brother to me, and I was so glad to have him while I was telling my story, because there's so much history. And I think what's so important is, like, every person, I say 9 out of 10 people in the room, I have a personal connection with of some sort. And that's come about because of a lot of hard work, a lot of relationship building, and being selfless as well. And it is a thankless task, I'm not going to lie. It is a thankless task. And the frustration, and going back to the frustration part, is I've invited the football authorities, you know, from the FA, the Premier League, the PFA, to come to these events that hold in the community to show, look what we can do without you. Now, let's come together and let's do even bigger with your resources, with your networks, with your knowledge and know-how, how to do big scale events. We're going to show you there's an appetite. So let's go bigger. And the frustration is sometimes it's a very slow process, but I can't hang about. And that's why I've announced I'm doing 15 events, of course.
Yeah, I was about to come to that. I mean,
so I'll let you ask the question.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one, of course. You were jubilated. It was great to be there. And you said you want to do at least 15 events in the name of DesiBallers in the next 12 months. How important is it to not only just do it here in London, but to take it across the UK, maybe even try and do an event maybe in mainland Europe or something, or maybe in the US with our good friend Paris, to really get the message out, you know, that brown folks can play football, brown folks play football. How important was it, that message?
It comes down to the delusion and the dream and the intentions. So I always start with the intention. I have to make sure my intentions are pure. Is it an ego-filling intention, or is it the wider intention? And that's where I'm always checking myself, what's the reason I'm doing this? And that's why we have these long conversations, because I'm not afraid to admit sometimes I lose myself and I have to rely on my brothers and sisters and going, right, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm feeling. And I'm not afraid to say it. I think we should all be doing that. We should all understand and check each other going, am I doing it for the right reason? Just that reassurance. And sometimes you just need someone to go, yes or no. Like even yesterday, straight away, I've asked people for feedback. And I already received it today, but we should have done it. And I said, don't sugarcoat it. Just tell me straight. And I think that's important. Now, the thing about doing...
Learning from the mistakes, right? I think
absolutely.
very important.
We fail forward, right?
And how important was it yesterday to have people of all the South Asian, major countries? And we're not only talking about Indian origin, Pakistani origin, Bangladeshi origin. We've got someone of Nepali origin in the room as well, Sri Lankan origin as well.
Yep. And not only that, we had a lot of non-Asians in the room as well.
Exactly, but important was also you had players who've represented the home country, so to say.
Yes.
Right? A lot of Pakistani national team, especially the female national team, very well represented. Isa Suleiman, very interesting what he said. You know, we had a conversation. Marvin as well, talking about the Sri Lanka story. I spoke to him afterwards. How important was it to get this across? And of course, I also had the chance to be on stage and talk about, you know, the situation that we hope at some stage to have players of Indian origin to play, to get that message also into the community. Guys, let's try and bring you over to play for your respective countries of origin of your parents or grandparents.
So important, and there's a number of factors and reasons why. Number one, these are incredible human beings who have a talent, and there's a pathway for them. Often, like if you're growing up in England, it's such a competitive football environment anyway. Like, away from all the issues that might exist, football is an elite industry. That's something we have to make clear. It's elite, and the statistic of 0.012% of academy players or of grassroots players making the Premier League. The numbers are very small. Like if you look at the PFA registration, they always make a comment about how many Asian players there are, but if you think at how many professional registered players are, around 4,000 players? 4,000 in a country of 70 million? Around roughly 70 million? 4,000.
But isn't that the reality of how many pro players there are in the world, that millions of kids dream to be professionals, want to be the next Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi or, you know, whoever they want to be. Yeah. And that is a minuscule number. I mean, I always have that discussion when I go back to India and tell kids, you know, yes, work hard, but are you going to be a pro? No one knows, right? That's, I think, the biggest thing.
But going back to what you're asking about, how important it is to have those players. So we talk about how small the numbers are. That's why when there's an Asian player who's a professional, regardless of what people think of his talent and all that, they're opinionated. He's part of that elite group. He's elite. And you look at the women's game, she's elite. Regardless of where they are in the leagues, they're elite. If they are professional, they're elite. You can't touch them.
And how important was it?
So when you then so just on that point of like when you got the players. So I know these players on a personal basis, and it would have been easy to just get them all on stage going, we know Z, blah 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 blah, and I don't really like that. I'd rather they just speak for themselves and then the crowd get to know them and all that kind of stuff. But the importance of showing the international players is to show the opportunities that exist in the world. That's key, and it's no longer like a token gesture. It's not like you failed here, try this instead. It's a last resort. I think many times before there's been accusations that players were looking for a last resort, either playing, say, in the Indian Super League when Michael Chopra went over and said, oh, he's only looking for a payday or whatever. Now you're seeing a rise in rankings. You're seeing uplifts. We were talking about Marvin Hamilton. When he went to Sri Lanka, he was one of 3 players who went to play for Sri Lanka. It was Wasim Raziq, Marvin, and I can't remember the third player. Dylan Silva, yes. So you had 3 players there, and now they've got a squad now, and many from mainland Germany as well, right? And it's like, look at the pathway that's been created there. And then another thing we were talking about yesterday was Baller League and the small-sided football, including Baller League,
which is massive in Germany. I know it's come from there.
And we're a stone's throw from the Copper Box Arena where it takes place, but also having Musa Bam on stage. Musa Bam, I took to America for the TST. He had a 30-hour journey, or no, like a 20-hour journey from Azerbaijan to Germany to America. What was he doing in Azerbaijan? He was playing in the 6-side World Cup, and he had his trophy with him yesterday, player of the match, and he scored one of the goals of the tournament. And you're like, all of a sudden, this is a 6-side World Cup. What? And there's opportunities to get paid to play in Baller League. Like over here, it was £400 a game per player. You're like, look at these pathways that exist. If this doesn't work out, we've got another one for you. I will say, for any player, anyone, go for plan A, elite. That's what you think, elite. And then you have to go, am I good enough for that? Because there's fine margins. There's a very small space for elite and everyone out here. There is a difference.
And there are different factors, right? It could be injury, a coach might not like you. There are so many reasons why you don't make it. But the point was also yesterday.
You're talking about injuries, right? So I just touch on that point. TST, my first 2 picks was Arjun Jung, who's one of the best small-sided players in England. In England, and been player coach for the England 6-side team, and he's supposed to go to the World Cup and play the Baller League. He's like one of the first 5-round picks. And he comes to TST. He was my captain. He tore his MCL, I think ACL, MCL, in week 2 of Baller League. He was out. My second pick, my goalkeeper, very well respected. Played in the Kings League, played in many tournaments around the world. He got injured as well.
The day before, huh?
10 minutes before the first game.
Yeah.
And these things happen. And it's like, so what then happens, like, these are factors. And you talk about other factors as well, but the injuries are the factors. and that's part of football. But that's how the fine margins are. Like literally, you can have everything correct and one thing can go wrong and it can end the whole career. Then it's about mindset and mentality, and then also the people that you build around. So one of the key parts about DesiBallers, and a lot of it is offline. Like what you saw on Instagram has just started in 2017, and I really took it serious in 2020.
I'll come to that later on. But the important is, you talk about, of course, the 11-a-side football, men's and women's. You speak about the small-sided game, which has really picked up across Europe in the last 2 years, massively. It was existent, but nobody really cared about it. What about also the older generation, like in Anwar Uddin, for example?
Yes.
Being there and staying till the real end, right? He was even outside chatting with us afterwards. How important is that? That generation is not forgotten, that there are these older role models, that they're there, that they've slogged it out. They face a lot of prejudice, a lot of racism, a lot of other things, and they're still there and they're still coming out for the community.
Having Anwar there means a lot because I was reporting on his career 3 years into his professional career. That's when I started in my journalism career, and reported it all the way through to retirement, and then all his ventures after in coaching, having an academy in Bangladesh, and his ventures that Fans for Diversity was the FSA, and now working at the FA, and also as a non-executive director at Dagenham Redbridge. There's so many waxing lyrical, and on stage I did make a few points about it. And for me, it's so important that we don't forget and we preserve the stories of the elders, because in today's generation, which is looking at it, they believe everything happened today, or it happened in the social media generation. If I told you that there's a cycle of things, like if you tell me, oh, this happened for the first time, I'll be like, no, I can give you 50 examples where it didn't. We have to be able to tell those stories and preserve it and pass it on to the next generation to carry forward, because we're asking them to carry the torch forward. But if they don't know our starting points or what we've been able to achieve and what struggles we've gone through, they'll believe every struggle they're going through is a new one. And we'll say, actually, no. Then the example I gave you yesterday, one of my good friends, Tayyab Hayat, only 22, and like I said, I'll condense it, and like he reached out when he was like 16, 17, and he was frustrated. He didn't know what direction to go, and he reached out to DB, and I hadn't responded to his DM straight away, and he called me out on it on a live, and I was like, look, if I'm going and saying I want to help the community, and I'm a one-man band, but I'll try my best, then I have to follow up. And 5 years later, I've seen the rise of this kid. He's gone from being this crossroads, especially when you grow up in East London. It's such a fine margin, and I'm sure in other parts of the world as well, such a fine margin between the good path and the not so good path. And all it takes is a conversation and listen and go, you can do something. And then they go out and do it. And now he's the one mentoring younger kids, giving opportunities. He's only 22 years old. He's working in the school right now, mentoring kids. That's away from football, but football was the vehicle that allowed him to do it. So it's not just about the professional scene. It's not just about the achievements in the elite game. I try to encompass the whole identity of football within the South Asian community from the grassroots. There's a lot of grassroots legends in the room who aren't known to people, but if you have a conversation with them, they'll tell you the stories. We had 2 or 3 members of the team that went to Pakistan in 2001. These are young grassroots players who are taken on a tour to Pakistan to play a few games out there. And you're like, that happened in 2001, but who knows that story? And we're going to tell that soon. But that was pre-social media age, and that story lives and dies with them unless someone goes, let's bring it forward.
It has happened. It happened. It could happen again.
Yes.
You're talking about the social media side of things, and of course, a lot of people who might be watching this video who know you will know DesiBallers, especially via the Instagram account. How important is it to highlight the achievements of South Asians, not only in the UK but across Europe or maybe around the world these days, to showcase that yes, our community is active? Again, different wording. In America it's called brown ballers or brown folks. In the UK you talk about South Asians. In Europe we don't even have a term for it, let's put it this way. How important is it to get it across? How difficult is it to keep that alive, and also to get the information to put it out always, right? I mean, it's not just the UK, but you're trying to cover the whole of Europe. North America is part of it now, even covering stuff that happens in Asia. How is it?
Can I be honest? It's actually harder to post these days. It's actually harder to put the information out because I get so much coming in. Over the last 15, 20 years, I've built really good networks with people, individuals. Like I'm talking about scouts, coaches, managers, players, their parents, people like yourself. We all have in the know information. It's like, when do we put it out? I always like things to be official. You know, there used to be a time when I wanted to be the first.
Yeah.
You know, exclusive breaking news. Now we live in such a great like silly period now that sometimes exclusives aren't really real. Like the truth is missing. I'd rather be like, wait for the truth to come out and then we'll post it. There's no harm in being second or third because the respect of the platform is there, that if it's on there, it's official. And I've built that reputation that if I post about it, then there's a truth to it. And I don't like to go on rumors and be like, oh, in the news.
Yeah.
I don't need the validation. So it's harder to now put things out because a lot of the work I do with DesiBallers it's not an Instagram account. It's not an Instagram platform. Instagram is just a vehicle. A lot of the work happens in the DMs. A lot of work happens offline.
Behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. Events, you know, I'm trying to do more public events because I want more. We have conversation, we have roundtable discussions, and
we used to have Twitter Spaces as well.
Twitter Spaces, during Twitter Spaces during COVID, and you have great like open discussions for a good 4 or 5 hours, and you're thinking, what an appetite there is. And I'm like, there's an appetite. I'm showing there's an appetite. How can I harness this now? And that was the whole idea. Like, well, let's go live. But ultimately, the work with DesiBallers, talking with parents, advising them, connecting them with individuals who might be able to help them, whether it's SNC coaches, whether it's physios, whether it's managers, whether it's just another player to just talk to them, or whether it's us just mentoring. DesiBallers encompasses all of that, and it's an unofficial platform because it's not backed by anyone. It's self-funded, just to make that clear. It's not financed by anyone. It's a passion project, but I run it like a business operation.
And it's become as big as it's become, right?
And it all comes down to intention. And I don't want to wax lyrical about myself, but when you get people coming down, I remember we did an event back in December, just around the corner from here, and we had Dr. Zafik Bell from Arsenal FC, and he made this comment, and it's quite funny. Like I've known him since his Spurs days, when he's at Tottenham. They went to Liverpool, Palace, and now at Arsenal as the head doctor, head of medicine. And he goes, and when Z messaged me to speak at the event, I had to say yes. And he goes, one of the reasons I say yes is because he's the only person who's never asked me for a ticket.
Oh man!
And I was like, yeah, because I don't support the clubs we work for. But
so it would change if he would be working.
No, it still wouldn't. It wouldn't change.
Okay.
It wouldn't change. I mean, I can, you know, I'll buy a ticket. It's not a problem. I'm not in the game for freebies. I'm not in the game for. You know, as I hit my age of 40, I'll make it very clear, I've got to that age of uncle status now.
Yeah, your nephew was there yesterday as well.
Yeah. My little nephew's 6 months old. I said, listen, his dad's an Arsenal fan, mum's a Man United fan. I'm like, he's West Ham. But wherever, you know, inshallah, he goes up to be a good kid and all that. For me, it's not about that anymore. The desire isn't, oh, I get free tickets. I used to get tickets all the time when I was working as a journalist, get press pass and all that. Eventually the novelty wears off. Now if West Ham got to a final 2 years ago and I was offered a free ticket to go watch them in final, yeah, I'm going. As a fan, I'll pay for the ticket. If I get a freebie, yeah, I'm taking it. I'm not going to lie. If we're in a final, I'm taking it. If it's a World Cup final, none of us are going to be like, oh, I wouldn't take it. We're taking it. But that's not the drive. The drive isn't that. The drive is, maybe I can get a ticket for someone else who hasn't been to a game. Maybe I can put someone on a coaching course. Maybe I can help someone with their grant or bid application to put on an event, and I'll help them put that event on. So I'll be like, okay, what do you need? You want to do this, this, and this. I can help navigate it, and it's going to be your ownership. I don't need the validation. Yeah, the platform runs itself, and the platform, if the platform didn't exist tomorrow and it was called DesiBallers, I'm still the person. I'll call it something else. Yeah. We'll call it Queen Elizabeth, for example, because it's the value that's placed on the brand. The brand is not the value. You place value on the brand, and normally it comes from the people who drive, like arunfoot, and previous to that, IndianFootball.com. That's you, but IndianFootball.com went the way it did, but it didn't stop you becoming who you are. You still continued, because IndianFootball.com died, cool. Arunava stayed around. Arunava, you can call it anything. You call it Charities Express. But what I'm saying is the value is placed by what you bring to the table. Now, if I can just add one more note, and then
please.
I think I'll wait for your next question. And I talk a lot as well. I have a tendency to this. The key thing for me now, and this has been since COVID, is when COVID happened, it was scary. such an unknown for everyone, right? All of a sudden, major disruptions are happening. People suddenly in their houses have to have self-discovery, and they're going through a lot of pains. You realize how fragile life is.
100%.
And you realize how quickly, if one of us goes, God forbid, it's going to happen one day, what happens to this platform? It goes with you. And then what happens to all the information? So why are we reliant on just one or two people? So the key thing for me over the last 5 years has to be build as many people as possible, encourage as many people as possible. I'll name check some if accounts, if that's okay. Like we've got Brown Town Rising by a good friend of mine, Arunava Chaudhuri, doing some great content. Recently speaking with Vimol Yoganathan from Barnsley, one of the first Tamil players to sign professional contract. And then just doing a fun interview with him was on there. Then they also had an interview with Shamit Shom before he made his debut.
From Bangladesh.
And I'm encouraging that because he's a really good content creator, a very good storyteller. Now, I can compete with him, and I compete with him on value, not on substance. Oh, sorry, not on the vanity side of things. Like, I had to get the video out before him. I'm like, no, you did the interview. You're a better storyteller. And that's okay to pass it on. So then you got a friend of mine, Miriam Walker Khan, who's got Brown Girl Sport, which is all about the women's part of women's side of sports. And we did a collaboration on a couple of occasions, and the big one we did was in December. We did a joint social, because I wanted to create a room that was a mixture of male and female guests, and also of different age ranges. And I'm like, look, as a man, even though my intentions are pure, some people don't know the DesiBallers account, but they know Brown Girl Sports. So if we combine together, we will have a bigger effective
and a bigger reach as well. Right?
Bigger reach as well. And then what then happens is there's trust built. So yesterday wasn't with Miriam. She's away reporting. She's going to be at the Women's Euros. But I still have a good size portion of female representation in the room. Normally when you see the South Asian events in this country, it was 90%, 95% male. And I'm like, that's an imbalance. And the age group average 30, 35 plus. That's not, if we're trying to inspire a generation, who are we trying to inspire?
The next generation.
You know what I mean? Who am I going to be inspired by? You're trying to elevate the next generation. Not just inspire them, but elevate them. Say, look, come, rise. So yesterday we had two of the youngsters interview one of West Ham's former players, Rufus Brevitt. Now, I could have done that and take the picture moment, but for me it's like, well, you guys are good at this, you're better than me. That's what I'm looking at. I'm like, who's better than you? You can do the things that I can't. Hand baton over. That's the key part. And that's where I'm at right now.
And that's brilliant to see. Final question. DesiBallers, 15 years plus. Where do you see yourself in 5, 10, 15? What is the wish of seeing the community being more successful, that we don't need to talk about the problems and the issues, and it's normal that maybe, someone is playing here in this stadium, playing in the Premier League, playing across the top 5 leagues in Europe, that is a normal thing, that South Asians are at that level? Is that the hope, the aim, where we need to, fulfill our dreams, or maybe see one of the South Asian nations maybe qualify for a FIFA World Cup? I mean, Bangladesh and India are with a chance in the women's side, it's realistically. So what's the hope? What's the wish?
This is the delusion side of what you just mentioned, and then it's a realistic side of going, well, why can't this platform stay when we're thriving? Why can't we still be proud of that when we're winning? Because we talk about, there's a need for it.
I think there's a need for it, not even now, I think in the future as well.
There's always going to be a need for it.
Because the niche stories, right?
Yeah.
Not only the mainstream stories will get carried, but how important is it that these small little stories, right? I mean, you have enabled with Dev, with Shanawaz, a lot of people to actually go on to play for South Asian nations.
Yeah, except India,
India, we're working on it. We're working on it, guys. Let's see. Hopefully.
Listen, everyone, keep putting pressure on the government and the Football Federation. Just hammer it every single day. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. If anyone's got connections, whatever, just do it. If you're too afraid for it, give me the connection. I'll talk to them. Honestly, we need to change this now. It's been the longest running narrative.
Since 2001.
Right, before I joined. And I remember 2006 when Bob Houghton was talking about bringing players in, and at the time I interviewed Harpal Singh, I interviewed Nathan Zansara, I interviewed a couple of other players as well, and there was a desire, they're ready. Michael Chopra as well then came into the fold. It's like, these players are ready. Bob Houghton wanted it back then, I'm not sure if Stephen Constantine was on that level.
Stephen did. Stephen even
At the
had
time, yeah.
players. I remember he had a junior player in because he was also coaching the
Okay,
Indian
sure.
juniors. And
It's
so
been
it's been a topic since 2001. I first raised it.
Yeah.
I still raise it.
And this is the thing that you're talking about, like in where how we've had a lot of talks in this country but no action. This is the example of that. A lot of talks. The players are ready. And we say, be ready, stay ready. Carry on doing what you're doing though. Don't get distracted. And when the moment comes, it'll come so quickly. You have to be ready for it.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's something I hope will change in the next 12 months. Forget 5-10 years time. Now, I want that to change now. I just love the fact to see our people win when they play international football. Imagine someone that you've known joins an even smaller elite crowd of international football, regardless of what country it is. We're talking about professionals in the game. It gets even smaller when you get to international level. So why not try and get more? And I know there's this whole battle and argument about players who are homegrown and domestic, well, the homegrown players compared to internationals, and Pakistan's had a lot of this kind of, I think it's died down a lot over the years, and the guy at footballpakistan.com has done a lot, and there's a lot more fan groups come in now that, oh, these players aren't committed, they're only doing it to raise their own level. This is always going through an argument, and to anyone who does that, you know what, let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
I'm happy to listen to it, because everyone's got an opinion,
the
right?
biggest impact we've had in South Asia this year
Yes.
is Hamza playing for Bangladesh.
Arunava Chaudhuri.
And
Yes.
starting a movement. We've talked about Sri Lanka as well, Pakistan as well. Therefore, yeah, Nepal is thinking about it. You know, I had a conversation about it yesterday with someone who's trying to push for that agenda.
Yes.
So there's a lot of change. So hopefully we as India also realize that origin players or people of origin are actually a value add. I think that's a big story for South Asia.
And just to say, their heart does bleed for India. Just remember that.
Yeah.
You've got to understand that they don't need to play for India to raise their status. They want to raise the status of India. There's a difference.
I think that's
the
key
key
point.
part.
Very key point. And thank you for taking the time off. You had a very busy schedule in the last few days to organize the event. And with this beautiful Olympic Stadium as a backdrop.
Can I also say thank you to you, flown over from Germany to be here.
More than welcome.
You know, we've been friends for a long time, but friends always surprise you. And we had this conversation, was it 2 weeks ago? And it was
No,
like,
we had it actually 2 months ago when you
2
first
months
said
ago, yes.
you're going to try and do an event, and I said 2 weeks ago, I said it's too short notice. What can be done? And somehow I made it here, and was very happy that I could be part of that event. It was fun. It was enjoyable, and thank you once again for this conversation. I hope you've understood that love, passion for the game is very important. It's not always the professional side of things that people like us, there are others as well. We've talked about Dev, we've talked about Shanawaz, not to forget people like Chris or like Malik back in Germany as well.
Ali as well.
Ali as well, yeah, those guys. That we're trying to change things for the better.
Yeah.
We will always try and do that. And do follow DesiBallers on its socials. Follow Arunfoot on my socials as well. And signing off from the London Olympic Stadium here in Stratford is Arunava Chaudhuri. Bye. See you soon, everyone.
Nice. I like that.